I got my nail done. Could you see anything?
Nails, dude.
You're like scrubbing on your back.
You waiting on me? Yeah, what's up? 7:30, bro. That's my last class. Are you gonna miss just today? Okay. All right. Oh, I'm gonna bring my board. To watch that. Yeah. Oh, I think. All right. Yeah. Okay. So next week we'll see. All right. All right, so we already had, why does it say closed? You have access to Husky CT, data-driven decisions. Students cannot access this course. Why not? Why can't you access it? What? Course settings.
What do you mean my schedule, bro? Like, damn.
Yeah, why does it say unavailable? What? So nobody has access to this class. Is that right? Why? All right, so that's some homework for me. That was today's goal, was like a tour of Husky CT. All right. That's weird, right? It says close. It just
open it like right then and there.
I mean, I can open it, but then I just noticed like a tiny little thing that said closed, and now, I mean, this is our schedule, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says to make it available.
It says closed course with a check mark.
Give me, where is it?
Like if you go back to the thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that just is. Yeah, it says closed course and it's got a check mark.
Like that?
Yeah.
Let's try that one. Oh, course content will be unavailable. Like a yes, it will not be. All right.
It is?
So now it's open. There's a button. Why would that be the default? Like out of all the things, I spent so long unhiding all these little menu items from you, and I didn't know that it was all hidden to begin with. Okay, so now it's open. Now we can do like a welcome tour. Most of the classes I'm not gonna do like a live stream in the class, because I was gonna spend most of it is like discussing like assignments that we have done and kind of doing a little more like peer feedback and research and that kind of stuff. But this first one, I wanted to get like a recording of this is the class, these are the things that we agree on and how we can move forward, that kind of stuff. Sound like a plan? So the goal here, we're only going to meet 1 hour, well, 50 minutes once a week, Monday afternoons. So I hope that you can be in most of the classes. If you miss 1 or 2, you're not going to like fail the class, but just try to get here so that we can like talk about things in person. I teach this over the summer, and in the summer it's all like individual meetings and then online discussion forum content. So instead of doing like online discussion boards, let's just talk to each other, make it IRL, URL. So that's like the first couple of stuff. Now I can go student preview and you can see what I see. And I recognize, it seems like a lot of seniors, is that right? Senior, yeah, so coming fresh out of senior design, and we kind of bumped this class to make sure it didn't overlap with senior design, because as people were signing up, all right, can't overlap. And some of you have had me before. This is my main like course website. This is where you can get to YouTube recording. So if I'll record stuff about like using GitHub for this class. If you're really against GitHub, you don't have to use it, but I think it's a good tool for like keeping track of your work. Make a copy of the course content. And then also, like, if you want to schedule any individual meetings, you can click that Calendly link and find a time there. And that one, so for this class, like, definitely meet anytime you want, but also if there's questions about like career or like research or writing, like, or programming, like, I'm happy to meet and talk about any of that. So there's that. And then we have our data-driven decisions website. And one of the applications that we're going to look into is Monte Carlo. Have you heard of that before? Some. What makes it Monte Carlo? Oh, the movie? Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Was it about the place or the method?
The place.
It was about the place. Yeah. There is a connection between the two, but it's like a Monte Carlo method, a Monte Carlo place. Both of them like use randomness to their advantage. What is Monte Carlo? Anyone? Car? I think, is there a Monte Carlo car?
Yeah.
Which one? Yeah. I don't remember the Monte Carlo car. Yeah, there might be a car as well.
There is.
Okay, nice.
There's a Chevy.
A Chevy?
Yeah. It looks like a pretty nice car though.
I like this one. Like the old one.
Yeah, the older ones are nice.
These, oh yeah. All right, I remember that from the 90s. They were, I think they're easily forgettable is the problem. All right. Oh, this one. That's a good one too. Like 80s. Oh, that one's good. Okay. That would be cool. That would be cool to talk about cars and the place. But Monte Carlo at face value is like anytime you're using random numbers to like make some kind of, and so it's different, like video games use random numbers all the time. Like if you want to generate a little bit of uncertainty in the game of like you enter a room and maybe the character doesn't always like strafe left. Like sometimes it's left, sometimes it's right. Like you can add a little bit of variation. That does use random numbers. The difference with Monte Carlo is that the more random numbers you use, the better your answer gets. So usually it's things like the average result, like where is this thing all headed on average, or maybe you want to figure out how uncertain a calculation is. Like I know the area is 1 inch square, but I only know that with like 10% accuracy. So it's 1 plus or minus 0.1. How much stress do I have? Now I have an applied force, an uncertain area. So how uncertain is the stress? That's like the at face value Monte Carlo. It can get super complicated. And there are whole like methods and tool sets to do that. We're not going to do a deep dive into like how we're not doing like nuclear Monte Carlo methods or like Heisenberg uncertainty sort of stuff. Like we're not solving those kind of things, but we're going to use random numbers to introduce uncertainty into how we think about engineering rather than like, I know this thing is moving at exactly 4.3 meters per second. It's like, well, do we? Or is it about 4 plus minus something? And then what are the things that we are certain about, even though we're uncertain about certain measurements? And because it's a W course, which is why you're all here, because you're so excited about writing as engineers, we're going to actually write about it and talk about what do I know about this, what research do I have to support an idea, and those kind of things. So let's jump into course syllabus. Again, this is like our main web page. The whole web page is hosted on GitHub. So you can make a copy of this whole class and you could work from that copy. Or you can have your own method, like copy notebooks and then work on them however you want to do that. We do have a discussion board, which you can. We didn't end up using it actually because we did all the discussions like in other chats and then like other things. But we do have it. We should use it more often. And then the server is broken. I gotta get rid of that link. I totally broke it. And then big lofty goal, at least like my goal for the course is like, how do we do like quantitative engineering, like all the stuff that's in the textbook we need to know, the thermodynamics, dynamics, all that. And then what are things that make it uncertain? Like, is there social design? Is the human factor always the uncertain factor? Are there other things? So we're designing for other people. It's rare that you're designing a thing to work for another thing without like having any human involved in the process. So how do we make those kind of decisions, and when you're writing that report, getting all this data together, when you like actually present that data, the things that you choose are sometimes even more important than things that you left out. Sometimes that's more important, the fact that you ignored certain things. So I want us to think about that, and that's part of like our discussion here on Monday afternoons. So make sure we have like coffee when we're ready, like really drill into these kind of things. And let's come back. Well, yeah, usually the big things are like, how am I being grading? How, like, grading scale, assessment methods. Yeah. So we have like grading and what assessments we're doing. We're gonna do some shorter, like 500-ish word assignments, and then we'll spend some time building like a 3,000 word document about. And that one, it doesn't have to all be like your own research. Like over the summer, what we did was it kind of split up naturally into two groups. One was working on windmill uncertainty. Another one was working on compliant mechanisms. Like how do you have moving parts without bearings? Like just one solid object. And what are the things that are uncertain as you design that? So sharing all the research methods between those two groups and then writing a report. So it's not supposed to be like sit in your room, do this all on your own. It's more of like a collaborative effort. Yeah.
Is this paper like a case study we're going to do like myself, or is it like a review?
It's like a case study. So, and now that we have like so like Adam had done a case study on looking at renewable energy, comparing across US versus European countries. And you can look at kind of the process that he was using. He was trying to create like a predictive sort of model, like based on certain inputs, how effective is it going to be as a actual, like when it's implemented, can you predict how well it will be implemented? Then we had, again, like the compliant mechanism, some intro, and then this one, trying to get down to like the main, the crack growth. So it was like, we were trying to get it to the point where we could have, it doesn't have like labels. We got to go back and review. But what we were trying to do was figure out, like, can we predict lifetime of a compliant mechanism here? So we know certain measurements or something about it. We know what loads will be applied. So can we make a thing that says like it'll last anywhere from 100 to 1,000 cycles versus 10,000 cycles to 1,000,000 cycles? That was sort of our goal with this case study. Yeah, so that's the end goal. And to get there, we'll try like a couple of practice assignments of just how do we rate, how do we deal with data, how do we kind of use both, like a little bit of code and a little bit of writing to explain ourselves that way. Yeah, so that's the plan.
Is the prompt kind of like open-ended?
It's very open-ended. Yeah, our final technical report is, yeah, that's it. Begin working. At least like in terms of like, this is what you can start with. It's like, all right, well, pick a title and then start working from there. But it's not, I don't want you to be like struggling on your own. The goal is like in class, we can like talk to each other and sort of build some research groups and work towards, usually it's different. Like no matter how closely you work together, you're gonna come up with different ideas of how to apply this and what conclusions you could actually make out of it. Yeah, so you choose a topic and then create some kind of case study there. And all right, so we'll come back to the assessment. And roughly we kind of have like a third is written stuff, a third is technical, and then this other like 20% online. Here we can do this more of like in-person activities, and I'll leave that up to you for how you want to keep track of that. So we'll do like a self-assessment for that 20%. I'm saying like coming to class or working with another person, those kind of things. And then peer review, that'll be kind of like a little bit of in class, or maybe we'll like turn in some print out something and then do some edits and then hand those in so that we can help each other learn how to edit and improve writing that way. Those are the main like scores. So this last like peer review is more like if it's done, it's done. Like if you're helping and doing the peer review, then it counts. And then the written and technical, those you can resubmit any assignment, you can resubmit them. So I'll give you feedback, and it's all us. Like it's just the 19 of us and then me, so 20 of us working. There's no TA. So if I give you any feedback, it's just meant to help improve. If you're fine with the grade, you can leave it. If you want those points back, like go back, see how you can improve it, and then submit, and I'll give the points back. Yeah, and if we kind of want to work backwards from, because there were some questions about like technical report, like working backwards. I realized our last day of class is demo day, or that's always like the last day of classes is always demo day. And like, well, it's all seniors here, so I think like Tuesday after demo day, maybe we could do final report rather than trying to squeeze it in before demo day. Rather like get that done, take a breath, and then finish up editing. Does that make sense? I don't want to eat into study time, but usually that's a little, yeah. No midterm, no final here, so I think we'll be okay. If there are issues, let me know, either now or later. So that's my plan. Kind of like after demo day, final draft like that. Next Tuesday, we'll do a week before that, more of like a first draft of like based on the research that we've done, some kind of like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Like I have some code. I don't know what to make of this yet, but this is what. And before that, we'll spend a couple of weeks just as a class of identifying resources and building like individual outlines for everybody. And that'll be like a lot of it's like doing stuff outside of class, coming to class to check it, look at it together, because it's only 50 minutes, so we have time to like meet, kind of say yes, no, or what did you think of this, and then you can spend some time outside working on other stuff. Good. So but that's kind of end of the semester stuff. So in order to get there, we'll have like some exercises. Our very first one. Well, yeah, let's do this. So first thing is, especially like after today, we have like a course tour. Now we actually have access to Husky CT. Take a look at syllabus, and then there are two pretty short like reading assignments, like tech writing and AI, and then tech writing audience. And this one, I think it's like maybe a paragraph or two. Audience analysis. Oh, not that. So just identifying audience analysis for writing. So just, and in here put some Q&A things that we'll discuss for next Monday. So you can add questions, you can add answers, but click that link and just something about like these things. Again, like part of participation sort of thing. So after that, you'll do probably not your first writing assignment with AI, but like your first like meta writing assignment with AI, where I want you to have and here I say ChatGPT, but if you have a different AI, like large language model sort of tool, have it tell you how to brush your teeth, and then edit it, and then do a compare. Then the end goal is like a comparison between your edits and what it gave you. So that's what we're gonna build here. And the reading is specific, and the reading that we'll talk about like next week after you've read it and tried this assignment is about like how do language models actually like see language, like when it reads something, really it's like transforming all those words into numbers and then sending it through a function to give you more numbers and then transforming that back into words. So the computer never like reads something, it's just close enough. It looks like reading, and we fill in a lot of the details with our own mind as we're reading the output from it. So that's what this first homework is about. It's like, as you're writing with AI, what can you claim as yours, and what happens when AI is considered like a co-author when you're writing? Is it okay? Are you okay with it? Is it fine as long as you don't get caught? where do we want to sit on that one? So this is like our first. This one's not really like Monte Carlo methods yet. So it's more like the writing part. Like how do we write? How are we gonna write? And let's use the tools that we have to write. If we have all these, we can write a 3,000 word essay pretty quick with ChatGPT. But the question is like, first question is like, is it good enough? It's like, it'll probably get a B, you know? Like, usually it's good enough that it seems to make sense. It seems like it has references, but then where do we fit in? Like, we're supposed to be the experts in something. So how would we use that and actually make it better? So it's always better to start small. Start with brushing your teeth before you start with a 3,000 word essay from ChatGPT. And then, so that'll be like for next Monday. We'll talk about these readings and then specifically like AI and writing. What do you think is yours? What do you think is okay to call yours? What do you think is sort of gray area? How much of you do you need in an assignment to say that it's yours? So it'll be a nice like ethics debate next week. So then let's look at due dates. Again, a lot of this is just like whirlwind tour of stuff. So next week we'll discuss homework 0. So this week is when you're like looking at the readings, trying that out. And then homework 1 will be also like another generate some content with AI, except now like talk about Monte Carlo. So it's something that you're probably not as familiar with. Brushing teeth, hopefully we're all pretty familiar, have a lot of lived experience. Monte Carlo, probably very little lived experience. So 2 sides of like how it can be used as a tool. And then we'll start getting into some other like homework 2, homework 3, where we'll start looking at like actual Monte Carlo uncertainty and engineering kind of problems. How are we doing so far? I've just been like talking. It's going. We'll do more discussion as we keep going. I know there's always questions. It's just there's also a lot of fear to ask the question. What questions do we have so far?
So I'm just like kind of looking at the first homework.
Yeah.
So I see it's in like GitHub, I guess, and I mean I've never done it before, so I didn't maybe want to do that.
So one thing that we could do is like homework 0. You can, if you have a Google account, you can click on Colab, and that's like the quickest way to get this up and running. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Colab is Google's like kind of repackaged Jupyter thing. So once I click that, yeah, it'll tell me like, hey, we didn't write this. It's like, yeah, that's all right. You didn't write a lot of stuff, Google. Probably most of your stuff is not written by you anymore.
How do you import it into Collab?
Sorry?
How do you just like download it and then put it into Collab?
Oh, there's a button. This rocket button. There's a button that says like Colab, and then you could run it like right there.
Okay.
This was a really smooth way to do things when we all had Google accounts. Now it's like, now you have to set up another account to use a Google account. It's like, nothing's easy. And I don't think Microsoft has its own version of Colab yet. Colab or Jupyter. Like VS Code does run Jupyter notebooks. Colab is usually the easier one. So like just getting up and running Colab is a good way to start this first part. And the main thing that's like different is this. This was just like a couple of functions that I had written for the fancy. It's term frequency inverse document frequency. Again, it's like a complicated way of like turning words into numbers and then turning those numbers into like usable analyses. Yeah, and we're getting some issues on the server or on the website. Let me see if this one works. No, doesn't like it. Oh no, it does work. So again, thinking about like, how does a computer actually think about when you tell it something? So here I have 3 documents, and the documents are really short. One says the frog jumped. The next one says the frog jumped high, and the last one says the turtle jumped. So each one of those kind of simple sentences is a document. Usually our documents are a lot longer. They might be like 100 or 3,000 words, but so the computer is going to like stem that. So it strips out all the terms that it thinks are not useful, like the word "the" gets stripped from every one of them. And it took jumped and turned into jump, because jumping, jump, jumped, and then other forms, jumps. Yeah, they're all, according to a computer, they're all the same word. There's no difference. And then all of that gets turned into a vector. So in this case, the vector has 2 non-zero values in it, frog and jump. In the next one, it has 3 non-zeros, frog, jump, high. And then in the last one, there's turtle and jump. And so the relative frequency of each of those words in those vectors is now, overall, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 words that are contained. So there's like a 0 to 1, like either it didn't come up at all as a 0 or a 100%. Like it was every word in this document. And now that it's a vector, we can do a dot product and come up with this 100% the same. It's like that first sentence compared to itself is the same sentence, 100% match. The second sentence compared to the 0, so 0 to 1, is like 70% match because we just added one word, but it's mostly the same sentence. And then the last one, turtle jumping, is totally different from, it's only 1/3, like 31%-ish, similar to that first one. So that's what you'll end up with, like some number when you do the analysis of like, this is what ChatGPT gave me, this is my version of what my edits would be. There's some number, like it's 89% the same. And then the question from there is that good enough? Not good enough? But that's what this reading is about. For again, a lot of this is like next week. We're gonna do so much stuff next week. It is only 50 minutes. Like we do have to manage expectations, but we'll get there. Yeah.
The hack and lead thing for like the discussions, should we sign in and we'll let keep our information there like that we put that question and answer? Or we put our names next to our question and answers?
So HackMD is like in this getting started. If we go into this reading discussion, you can sign in, or you can have like a, like you could put your name in there and say, if you're like want to show like, hey, this is what I'm asking. I'm not going to go through and like check boxes to make sure that everyone responded. So if you have questions that you want to ask but you don't want to take credit for, that's okay too. I think this is a good spot to ask that.
Kind of like, it's not necessarily like
It's part of it would be like loosely that participation. Yeah. So if on the participation form you could say in that yeah, in your final participation of like, yes, I need an A for participation because I responded to every reading post, like, or I responded to three out of five, you know, something like that. Yeah.
I have a question about the homework 00. So it says like copy paste your prompts and outputs here. Would we just like make a cell and then put our prompts and output there?
Yeah, like in here, you can double click, and now
Oh yeah, yeah, right there.
yeah, and once you
Oh.
double click, you can like paste it right in there.
Okay, so we don't need to like just print it out. I assume.
Yeah, like if and I can record like myself trying it out too, but it won't take. The main thing is that when you do need to copy it into these two, like the AI and ME.
Oh, okay.
Those are the two spots where you need to copy like what AI gave you versus what you wrote.
Edited.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just like text, like
Like maybe a 200 word.
for the brushing teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be like you could do short. Usually when I do it, I want something like real short. So I'm like, give me 5 steps.
Oh yeah, because
but-
that gives them steps. Yeah.
Or yeah, sometimes the default is steps too. Cool. All right, so we do have spent a lot of time like doing a tour and a lot of logistics stuff. It was kind of nice to have a week off from like a class that starts in the second week. It's like, oh wow, this is great. So hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did the time to just like, because I was not ready to even teach on Monday last week. Like I was not ready for us to meet. Discussion rules or kind of like procedure. What am I thinking of? Guidelines? Yeah, like how do we want to? Is there anything that we want to say for our class of like, hey, don't do this, or like, yeah, guidelines is a rules sounds too discussion guidelines. So as we're doing discussions, like one thing that I find helps for discussions is like speak from your own experience. So talk about the things that you had, like if you read something and you want to discuss that, like make it clear that you're like discussing something that you read. You're not like the author meant to say this, like you're speaking like from your own experience on something else. Is there anything else that helps like discussions that you've had with people, or things that have hurt? What have been like things where discussions went way off the rails? We see that all the time, especially with politics these days. Like what are things that are great examples of how not to run a discussion? Yeah. Interrupting, yeah. So don't cut off / interrupt. What else would help? Actually, you know what would help is actually like taking 5 seconds to think about it and then sharing. Yeah. Speak with
no think before you speak.
thinking before speaking. Yeah, allow time to think before speaking. Yeah, so let's take like 5 seconds and then share with somebody else, and then we'll see if we come up with other guidelines about like think before. Do you want to put think before speak? Yes, maybe some. Think before speak. Take time. Think before speak. We'll say suggested. Some people think well while speaking. Have you noticed that? Like they're, by the time they reach the end of their thought, they actually have something coherent to say. Not as much. Yeah, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it spirals.
Courteous of time.
Sorry?
Like being courteous of time.
Courteous of time. Yeah.
Nice people.
Yeah, yeah. So courteous of time. Like especially if you start splitting up, because it'll help to like split up into smaller groups. Talk about stuff. Trying to dominate. Yeah. Courteous of time. That one's good. Courteous of time.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah. Questions are great. Questions are like, that's the guiding discussion. Questions are great. Be respectful. Yeah. That one should be right up top, right? Is there a way to prevent it?
Being open to different thoughts or critiques, but within that vein of being respectful.
Okay.
If somebody's being rude by criticism, not to take that, but somebody's gonna give criticism, be open to it.
Okay. Yeah.
But both entities criticism. But give me these bro.
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe we should focus on the criticism. Like criticism should be precise and actionable, or precise, actionable, respectful, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yep. Stole it.
Like have something to say like about someone else that you should do in like a respectful way, so not waste somebody's time.
Yeah. Criticism should be respectful, precise, and I feel like I had another word there. No?
Like have something sort of logic or reason for that.
Yeah, and logic. Maybe and purpose. Sometimes like purpose is a nice catch-all word because it doesn't necessarily have to be logical. It's like, oh, that word, that the way you use this word just feels strange to me for some reason. Not that it's good, bad, but I have lived experience with the way that you use this word. Maybe let's change it just so it's not one thing or another. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I know as engineers we do love logic. That's why I got into this. It's like everything's logical, precise, rational.
I've never had any discussions go off the rails.
No? Okay. What were things that worked well?
I mean, honestly, I feel like people just say enough to get to that point.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
like a lot of this. It's more common.
For class or for like all your friends as well?
Oh, I mean, if you're sending to there, then yeah.
Like I'm thinking like, when did Thanksgiving dinner get really awkward? Those are the things that
I mean,
my family does not follow the discussion guidelines for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Just like stay on topic. Once in a while,
Stay on topic.
I mean, I know things like that.
Yeah.
You'll hear one phrase and it'll set them off the rails.
Yeah.
Something like that.
yeah, be courteous of time, and then I think kind of connected to that one is sort of like stay like not on topic, but sort of like stay connected to topic or connected to, yeah. Something like that. Anything else there? Yeah.
I think it's good to like always kind of like defamiliarize yourself with like a topic presented, so that like you approach it with like more than open minds.
So defamiliarize?
Yeah, so like if we're talking about something like you think you know, like X, Y, and Z on your next thing, I think it's good to like take a step back from that.
Mm.
Be open to like self-criticism as opposed to criticizing others.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, how do we put that one? So,
Open-mindedness, I guess.
yeah, open-mindedness. So open-minded. Maybe like be respectful, and then the next one could be like be open-minded. Is a good. I don't. Yeah, is it specific enough for our discuss? I like it as a guideline, but I'm wondering, do we want to be more specific, or is that okay for our like discussion guidelines, kind of going forward? Be open-minded. I like it. Yeah. Open-minded. But you started it off as like defamiliarize, which was an interesting way. Or like recognize, maybe like go in recognizing limits of your own expertise or something. Recognize and acknowledge. Something like that. Recognize, acknowledge your own limits. Try not to. We got to step outside our comfort zones because like none of us are expert Monte Carlo modelers, so we're gonna be outside the comfort zone. But it's okay to like try to say something and not really know how to say it. But just recognize like, well, maybe I don't really know what I'm talking about yet, and I'm happy to learn more. Something like that. How are these for guidelines for next week? We're working in good shape. Cool. Why is everybody here then? What brought you here? Data-driven decisions. Learn about data-driven decisions, yeah.
I think that helped with like my research.
Help with research. Oh, what's your research?
I do work in soft robotics.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
It's like it's not a lot of people with data analysis minded work in the lab.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to show them that.
Nice. Yeah. Improve technical writing skills. You're like, yeah, checking off all the boxes on the syllabus. Yeah. Improve my technical writing. I am here to learn about data and decisions with uncertainty. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Like looking for some applied W.
Nobody wants to learn about world history.
For world history. Yeah.
English literature. Oh, the 1800s.
Of the 18, yeah. Some of those are hard. Yeah. I loved, my favorite electives were philosophy electives when I was undergrad. So I did like philosophy of science and like intro philosophy. The ethics, I didn't care for the ethics course.
Who needs ethics?
I don't know. It all felt, I don't know.
Engineering ethics, you know, a certain point,
They go, ethics are legal.
exactly what
Yeah.
they're trying to say.
Yeah. Here, hopefully, we'll like circle back on ethics of because engineers, ethics are not like you have them or you don't. It's more of like, it's a total world building scenario. Like, how are you viewing this world?
Oh, like
What?
with all the different like problems almost.
Yeah, I mean,
Kinda,
it's
like,
not.
There's like, oh, if you touch this,
Bro,
then
who
you're
thinks
doing
it's
this.
5 people, bro? Just run over the one.
Yeah. So ethics, it's more of a like as a I think that was my main problem with it. It's like it's very much the process, but it was so focused on the content rather than the ethical process. It should be more of like a grappling with problems sort of thing. But content is king a lot of times in a lot of things, like YouTube channels and classes. So we're here to learn interesting applied writing, specifically for understanding uncertainty in the face of engineering challenges, brush up on technical writing. Sounds like we're in the right place. Are there any things, like what's something that it's like, if we don't learn about this, it's a total waste of time? Like the must-have points. Because I don't know what you expected signing up for this class. Never. Education is its own. Yeah. Oh, just thinking. Yeah. What other reasons? We'll definitely do technical writing. We're definitely going to look at data. Even in our first, and data is like pretty broad. At this point, data is like all over the place. Like words are data, PDFs are data. Your profile that you just filled in, that's data. Like the fact that I'm a 40-year-old male with 2 kids and a wife, that's data. Like all this, where that data is, how it gets logged, like a lot of those are turning into like weird ethics discussions. Yeah.
More concise writer.
Ooh, concise?
I feel like when I talk and when I write,
Yeah.
and I was like, I see my dad do that, and I don't want to be my dad.
Okay.
30 years, so
Yeah.
Great.
I can be
All right.
concise with my writing.
Yeah, yeah. So becoming like more precise in writing.
Yeah, like more repetitive.
Yeah, like removing repetitive. These are like great technical goals
Write it in the guidelines.
in the guidelines.
And
I don't.
repeat yourself.
I think that's more like some
That's some basics.
like great writing advice. I'll put that down here. Be precise and concise. Is that's great. Like, and one great way to do that is like read stuff that is precise and concise. So like Ernest Hemingway was like the original concise writer. So if you pick up a short story by Hemingway, that's a great way to like see how short you can possibly make a story. You know, have you heard that his short story? Someone challenged him like, you can't write. I forget what the challenge was, but short stories always have to be a certain length. But he wrote a short story that was just an ad in a paper. You heard it? Yeah, just pair of children's shoes, never worn. That's it. That's the whole story. And there's like all this sadness. Yeah, like immediately you're like devastated by just a few words. There's so much like to unpack in that story. Yeah.
It was for sale baby shoes.
Yeah, for sale. Yeah, yeah. You're right.
For sale baby shoes number 1.
That's
It's so sad.
In as little words as possible.
Yeah.
Had a profound effect.
Yeah. And that one, yeah, so Hemingway is like, he was the first one to really like be as concise as possible. Here, engineers, we end up like building out a lot more because like we would probably have like massive shoes are 0.3 kilograms plus size is this, and there'd be all these extra precision things, but yeah, precise and concise is great technical writing advice, but it's good advice depending on what you want to do. Oh, we're over time. Sorry. You can always just like, yeah, let's get out of here. We'll be back next week. Try out those assignments.